In 1994, during the collapse of a long-abandoned coal shaft in southern Poland, something was discovered that was never meant to reach the surface. Miners did not report a body, they reported movement. Before we open this file, subscribe and enter the archive. Some species go extinct, others retreat, and a few adapt in places we rarely look. The Silesian region in the early 1990s was unstable. State mines were shutting down, oversight was inconsistent, and many shafts were left partially sealed rather than properly decommissioned. In October of 1994, after heavy rainfall, a secondary tunnel system beneath an inactive coal complex collapsed, exposing a previously undocumented lower corridor approximately 430 meters below ground. Emergency crews were sent to assess structural risk. The first report was ordinary: unstable rock, methane pockets, poor air circulation. Then one of the workers noticed something unusual along the exposed clay wall: scratch marks. Not random fractures, parallel grooves. 4 at a time, approximately 6 centimeters apart. At first they assumed illegal scavengers had entered the shaft years prior, but deeper in the newly exposed corridor, they found something that did not belong in a coal seam: bone fragments. Not human, not livestock. Long bones consistent with medium-sized mammals. Gnaw marks were visible, but not like rodent damage. The bite impressions were narrow, curved, and arranged in a semicircular pattern, suggesting forward-facing dentition rather than lateral chewing. The site supervisor ordered further descent. At 02:12 the following morning, while reinforcing the collapsed section, one of the workers reported hearing stones shift in the darkness beyond the portable floodlights. The tunnel extended another 70 meters into blackness. Airflow from that direction was steady, meaning there was a deeper system beyond mapped structures. They directed a light into the corridor. The beam caught 2 reflective points, low to the ground, close together, perfectly still. I was able to find a video of this creature recorded by a stalker. Watch it carefully. The workers described them as not like a dog's eyes. They were smaller, closer to the floor, and did not blink. Then the sound came. Not a growl, not a hiss. A dry, rhythmic clicking, like claws tapping lightly against stone. The eyes vanished. No animal was officially recorded. Within days, local authorities restricted access to the shaft. The explanation given publicly cited structural instability and methane risk. Privately, a geological team from Katowice University was asked to evaluate the newly exposed lower network. What they found altered the working theory. The collapsed wall had revealed a natural limestone cavern system that predated the mine by thousands of years. The coal tunnels had unknowingly intersected a deeper ecosystem. Evidence within the cavern suggested long-term habitation. Claw marks at multiple heights, smoothed pathways along the rock floor, piles of fragmented bones accumulated in recesses. The bones dated from different decades, some recent, some older, small mammals mostly, fox, badger, feral dogs, even deer fragments likely dragged down through vertical fissures. Something had been living there. Descriptions from 3 separate workers align consistently.
The organism was estimated at roughly 1.5 meters in body length, excluding tail. Extremely low posture, limbs elongated, particularly the forelimbs. Movement described as fluid but controlled, hugging the ground as if conserving energy. The skin was reported as pale, almost gray-white. No visible fur in direct light. Texture described as slightly mottled, like damp limestone. The head was narrow, with a slightly elongated snout. No visible external ears. Eyes small, but highly reflective, adapted to minimal light. One worker claimed he saw the mouth open briefly, rows of narrow, sharp teeth, not oversized like a predator from fiction, but numerous and tightly spaced, consistent with a carnivorous diet focused on small mammals. Most disturbing was the behavior. It did not charge, it did not flee chaotically. It observed, then retreated deeper into the cavern network.
In the months following, livestock disappearances were reported in rural areas above sections of abandoned shafts. Initially attributed to stray dogs or theft, the pattern was unusual. Animals were not scattered or torn apart. Many were found partially consumed, with the rib cage accessed cleanly. Smaller bones were often missing entirely. Biologists consulted unofficially suggested the possibility of a highly adapted troglodytic predator, a species evolved specifically for cave environments. Europe contains numerous cave-adapted organisms, blind salamanders, insects, crustaceans. However, large vertebrate cave specialists are exceptionally rare. Evolution in isolation can produce dramatic anatomical changes within surprisingly short geological timeframes. Reduced pigmentation, enhanced sensory perception, altered limb proportions for climbing and navigating confined spaces. If a population of medium-sized carnivores had become trapped within an extensive subterranean network centuries ago, perhaps during earlier mining activity or natural collapses, selective pressures would favor low-light vision, silent locomotion, and efficient predation in confined environments. The limestone system beneath Silesia connects through fissures and water channels, extending kilometers beyond mapped human tunnels. Airflow studies in 1995 indicated multiple vertical shafts reaching near-surface forested areas. This would allow nocturnal emergence. In 1997, a spelunking group illegally entered a restricted section of the abandoned mine. One member later reported hearing coordinated movement in the darkness beyond their headlamps. He described the sensation of being followed, not from behind, but from parallel tunnels intersecting the main shaft. They found scratch marks on their vehicle tires after exiting the site. Narrow, curved impressions consistent with claw contact. No formal complaint was filed. Skeptics argue that misidentified feral dogs or badgers explain the sightings. Yet neither species demonstrates the combination of anatomical features described: elongated forelimbs, hairless pale skin, near-silent coordinated movement, and apparent group behavior. Yes, group behavior. In 1998, a night watchman guarding scrap metal near a sealed shaft entrance reported seeing two sets of reflective eyes at different heights, one lower, one slightly elevated on a rock ledge, both stationary, both retreating simultaneously. If accurate, this suggests a population rather than a lone survivor.
From a biological perspective, a stable subterranean predator population would require consistent food supply and breeding territory. Abandoned mining regions provide both. Rodents flourish in such environments. Surface access allows occasional capture of larger prey. Limited human intrusion reduces conflict. The primary challenge would be genetic diversity. However, interconnected cavern systems could support multiple family groups across wide underground territories. There is no captured specimen, no verified tissue sample, only recurring patterns of evidence that do not fully align with known fauna. In 2003, following EU safety regulations, several deep shafts in the region were permanently sealed with reinforced concrete barriers extending meters into the rock. Shortly after, reported livestock disappearances declined sharply. Coincidence is possible, but cave ecosystems do not vanish because we seal one entrance. If an adaptive subterranean predator evolved during decades of mining expansion and collapse, it would have learned quickly that humans are unpredictable and dangerous. It would avoid direct confrontation. It would move primarily at night. It would retreat at the first sign of sustained light. It would remain unclassified. The post-Soviet chaos of the 1990s created gaps in oversight and documentation. Records were lost. Sites were abandoned without proper biological assessment. Entire tunnel systems remain unmapped to this day. Beneath forests and farmland, below layers of reinforced concrete and forgotten infrastructure, the limestone network still breathes. Air still moves through unseen fractures. And if something adapted to that darkness generations ago, it does not need our acknowledgement to survive. We tend to think evolution happens slowly and visibly, recorded in textbooks and fossils. But sometimes it happens quietly, beneath our feet, in places we dig into and then forget. Some species do not go extinct. They simply go underground. And in certain regions of southern Poland, when the ground shifts after heavy rain, and air moves through sealed shafts at night, locals still report hearing something tapping softly against stone, patient, measured, and very much alive.